Hey folks, Colin Richards here. I'm Denver's Biblical Investment Advisor and thrilled to be with you today talking about how you can implement methods and strategies that will help you become financially independent, whether it's through good times or bad. And I'd love to hear from you and chat with you about your specific questions. At Lord & Richards, we offer a complimentary second opinion. Give us a call, 720-372-0400. Again, that's 720-372-0400. And for those of you who are curious enough to check us out on the web, look us up at www.lordandrichards.com. Well, again, it's great to be with you this morning. And today we're going to talk about the aspect of taxes, disarming your tax time bomb. You can't be truly financially independent if you don't deal with this subject. So many of us make the mistake of focusing entirely on one subject as it relates to becoming financially independent, being retired, living the life that you want to after work. And we focus on accumulation of assets. Well, don't get me wrong, accumulation is a vital part of planning and preparing for that day when you are truly financially independent. But it's not the only piece, and it is particularly vulnerable if you don't address the risks that accumulated portfolio is going to face throughout your retirement years and even before you retire. One of the risks we talk a lot about on the show is downside risk or market risk. The risk that the market could take your portfolio and cut it in half or worse, as it did back in 2008 to so many people. I was chatting with someone this week, one of our clients, and just said, I remember back in 2008, he said it felt like my 401k became a 201k. And although that was a cute little joke, it wasn't cute if you were affected by it, right? How many of you out there experienced severe drops during that period? Now, I know it eventually came back if you didn't sell it, but the problem with that is you lost years and years waiting for that to come back. Do you know if you invested in the S&P 500, some of the strongest growth stocks available out there, that you would have actually had a wasted time period from 2007 all the way to 2013 with no real growth during those 6 years? Yeah, we can't afford to waste time like that. And so just as market risk can have a devastating effect because you're only focused on accumulation, if we fall into that trap, so taxes can have a devastating effect if we don't focus on that risk as well during your accumulation and during your retirement, or what we call at Lord & Richards, your financial independence years. So let's talk today about how to disarm your tax time bomb, because I'm confident that the majority of folks that are listening today have within their portfolio somewhere these little explosives waiting to go off either now, later, or when you pass away. So let's dive right in. Again, this is Colin Richards. I'm founder and president of Lord & Richards. We're a biblically based investment firm right here in Denver, serving clients, however, across the country, because I just can't keep my retirees from moving all the time. And so we have that privilege of helping hundreds of folks achieve financial independence, and we'd be delighted to help you. Give us a call, 720-372-0400. Again, it's 720-372-0400. I know you've been thinking about it. You know you need to get a plan in place. Let us help you develop a financial independence roadmap, a map to keep you from getting lost on the journey towards financial independence. So back to our subject, disarming your tax time bomb. I want to first make some comments about our president's tax plan. We have no idea whether this is going to make it through both houses of Congress and become law, but it's a fascinating subject because it's bold and aggressive. It does delete what I think are some tremendous benefits if it were to go through in order to make room for these tax cuts, but that's a subject for another day. Let's just put it out there. If you make between $0 and $50,000, and let's pick married filers, okay? There's a separate table for single filers and a separate table for heads of households. But let's just focus on married filers for now. If you make between $0 and $50,000, you're going to have a 0% income tax rate. If you make between $50,000 and $100,000, it jumps up to 10%. By the way, in both of those categories, you have no long-term capital gains or dividends rate. So it's really favorable to folks in the 0 to 100,000 category. Very, very minimal taxes, very rich in tax cuts. The question of how to pay for it, again, a subject for another day. It sounds a lot like a ballooning deficit to me. And if you've listened to this show for any amount of time, as wonderful as we think tax cuts are, we're also concerned about who's going to pay for it and when we're going to have to pay the piper. Because if we just kick the can down the road, that doesn't really solve a planning problem. That may be politically expedient, but it's not a real answer. So good, bad, or ugly, this is what's being proposed. The next category is those who make, as a married couple, 100 to 300,000. Getting into that top tier of wealth, those folks are going to have a 20% income tax rate and a little less on their long-term capital gains, about 15%. And then the last category, if you're above that 300,000, 25% on your regular income, and of course, long-term capital gains gets bumped up to 20%. And then that's it. It just stops at 25%. Really remarkable considering we're over 39% now. Our corporate rates are also in the administration sights, looking to drop those dramatically by more than half, down to 15%. And the death tax, or what we might call the estate tax, is also out there being discussed, and removing that. That's not going to affect the majority of Americans, but it certainly will affect those of you who have achieved the American dream and have estates valued in excess of about $11 million as a couple. Anything above that currently, you're going to see about 40% of that knocked right off by estate taxes. Well, this plan would get rid of that. Quite remarkable, quite aggressive. Who knows? Can it pay for itself? I guess it depends on which accountants you talk to, but like most tax plans of this sort, it probably depends upon the economy and how much taxes are coming into the government coffers as a result of a surging business environment. We'll see. So what happens if that gets put through? Well, we still are going to have time bombs that we're going to need to deal with. And let's talk for a moment about that one I just mentioned, the estate or death tax, as some people call it. If you're just jumping on, this is Colin Richards. I'm president and founder of Lord & Richards. I'm very happy to lead a team of gifted advisors who meet with folks like you every single day. And our sole purpose is to help you achieve financial independence. We'd love to talk to you about how you can do that, and even how you can put strategies into your portfolio right now that will protect you through both good times and bad, allowing you to grow whether the market's soaring or whether it's crashing, keeping you safe and sound so you can sleep at night and enjoy the financial independence that you have earned. Give us a call, 720-372-0400. Again, 720-372-0400. So, of course, taxes are biblical. I hate to say that, but as a biblical investment advisor, I've got to admit, the Lord said, render to Caesar that which is Caesar. So we know that this is an important part of our patriotic and duty as a citizen of the United States is to pay our taxes. So you'll never hear us on this show saying, don't pay your taxes. But what you will hear us say is, don't pay more than you're being asked to pay or you should pay. And so estate taxes will hit a portion of you, not the majority, but a portion of you. And we need to address that. Met with folks recently who had actually met with an attorney who just bypassed it. And as he planned out their trust, didn't even take into account estate taxes. That's a bit of a tragedy, because this couple would have experienced hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not more than $1 million in estate taxes now, much less later on when that money grows. So you've got to work with an investment advisor and an attorney, a team where the right hand and the left know what they're doing. Because a lot of times those parties are acting independently, but when you get them together on your team, we usually act as the quarterback, if you will, the investment advisor, because we're taking in a much broader range of planning than the attorneys who are merely setting up these documents in one particular area of planning for death. But we're looking at your whole lifetime. And so we want to work together as much as possible to avoid major slip-ups like what I think was about to happen with this client and the failure to address the estate tax. How do you get rid of that? If it sticks around, if it doesn't pass Congress, the removal of the estate tax, then the only way to do that is to give the money away. And that may sound like kind of a last case scenario, but in our evaluation, we can typically tell you how much you could expect to leave behind when you die. And it's really more a matter of deciding in advance where you want it to go. Do you realize that most people who don't make proper adjustments during their lifetime are going to see their portfolio naturally flow like water down a ditch into the hands of nursing homes and the government? And is that really what you want? Well, I'll tell you, the average person I talk to says, no, Colin, that's not where I want what I have worked a lifetime to achieve, to wind up. I want it to be number one answer, family. Number two answer, causes, ministries, kingdom building activities. So how do we make sure that happens? It's with a careful financial independence roadmap together with an attorney that sees things from a Christian perspective. So that's the estate tax. It's not going to hit the majority of you. It might get eliminated if the Trump tax plan goes through. It might not. Usually that one goes on as a bargaining chip, and it gets pulled in order to get the broader plan through. And we've seen that happen a variety of times. So what else do we need to be concerned about? What other time bombs might be lurking in our portfolios that could negatively impact us from a tax perspective? How do we disarm those? Well, what about your current investments? Okay, many of you are positioned so that your investments are taxable as you're going along now. A lot of you in mutual funds, if those funds aren't in IRAs, are seeing, just consistent gains, hopefully, because the market's been going nowhere but up. But you're seeing gains that are getting taxed and added to your annual tax bill. We met with another couple recently that was getting pushed into the alternative minimum tax just because of all these gains. Well, there's an approach. It's called tax deferral. So if you're in that position, let's say you either have a business or a high enough income that gains on your portfolio are pushing you into higher brackets than you should be right now, then tax deferral is a great idea. Okay, and there are a number of ways to do that. Did you know you do not have to put your money into an IRA for it to be tax deferred? Yeah, there's more than one way to skin that cat. And we specialize in helping you defer taxes that you really shouldn't be paying now. That's one group. People earning enough so that we need to really reduce your income from a tax standpoint, at least on paper. If you're just jumping in, this is Colin Richards, and I'm discussing how to disarm your tax time bombs, those little bombs lurking in your portfolio or in your plan or lack of a plan that are going to cost you and cost your family potentially tens of thousands of dollars, if not millions, depending on where you are. So let's learn how to avoid those in advance. Give us a call, 720-372-0400. You're listening to the Lord and Richard Show. I'm Colin Richards, president and founder. And again, you can reach us at 720-372-0400. Why not pick up the phone, have a chat about your specific questions, and let's talk about how we can help you prosper through both good times and bad. Today, we're talking about the bad times coming in the form of taxes and how to not pay more than you should. So let's move to another group of people who maybe aren't earning so much that taxes are a big issue. Now, I know they're always going to be an issue, right? When I ask for a show of hands without any context, how many of you think you're paying too much in taxes? Man, everybody in the room's got their hand up. But when I compare that to the historic tax rates that were in place back in the 60s and so forth, when you had the top tax bracket at 50% of your income, or maybe as Reagan took office and those brackets were heading to 90% at the top tier. I realize you're not all at the top tier, but guess what? That just means the whole thing is higher. And everybody down below is also paying a lot of tax. So with historically high tax rates in the past, guess what we've got today, folks? We've got historically low, even before any type of new tax plan gets passed by the Trump administration. We are already in an historically low tax environment. So here's my question to you. If you were a farmer and the tax man showed up in the barn and said, hey, Mr. Farmer or Mrs. Farmer, I'm going to give you a choice. You can either pay taxes on those bags of seed over there right now, or you can wait to the end of the harvest and pay taxes on the seed that you harvest from your crop. Your choice. Well, what would you do? Would you pay taxes on the seed, or would you pay taxes on the harvest? Well, most of us, unless there's a substantially high penalty to pay for paying now. In other words, if you're not in the highest tax brackets, then it may make sense to pay your taxes now on your investments and then place them in vehicles that will never get taxed again. Think about that. Think about stepping into retirement and having parts of your portfolio that as you withdraw money never get taxed again. Well, we know how to do this, right? Think with me for a moment. We have a traditional IRA, which is a method of deferring taxes till later. That might be wise for higher income people, but for most of us, that's just kicking the can down the road. If you are socking money away in a 401k, unless you're getting a match, you're gonna probably wish that you had gotten those taxes out of the way now, because if you're grumpy now about taxes, wait till rates are higher and you're older. That's a 1-2 punch, because higher rates and older mean a lot grumpier about taxes. I know, because my clients are living this out. With the majority of my clients currently retired, they're a lot more concerned about taxes now that they're retired and their income isn't coming from a job where they're getting raises. Let me tell you, you'll be the same way if you're not already. So if you're in your earning years, you might want to give serious thought to how much you're putting away in that 401k and that IRA. Here's why. Because one day you're going to have to pay taxes on that. You're not paying it now, and it feels good, right? I'm all for feeling good, but it's really short-term gain, long-term pain. How about if we get the pain out of the way now when income tax rates are low, and we consider investing in vehicles that don't get taxed again, so that when you're older and or tax rates are higher and you're retired, what we call financially independent, you don't pay taxes, or at least you don't on those dollars that are positioned there. That has such far-reaching effects, because if you're not paying taxes on other kinds of investments, that decreases the likelihood that you're going to pay taxes on your Social Security. Yes, we pay taxes on our Social Security as we're drawing it. I know it feels weird because we call it a tax as it's taken out of your paycheck now, and then you take the money out and it gets taxed again as income. Depending on your level of income in retirement that's taxable, you may see a portion of your Social Security get taxed, and it just doesn't feel good, does it? No. So if you have the wherewithal to pay taxes now and you're not pushed into the highest brackets, you might consider getting taxes out of the way now, putting less in your 401k and IRA, except for the match, right? I like free money, so please get the match. Putting less, though, beyond that match, and putting the balance into vehicles that are never getting taxed again. I'll talk to you about those in a moment. In the meantime, if you're jumping on, we're having this wonderful conversation about disarming your tax time bomb. I'm Colin Richards. I'm founder and president of Lord & Richards, a team of investment advisors here in Denver that serve folks just like you every day, helping you to achieve financial independence. And we would love to help you. Give us a call at 720-372-0400. We'll talk about your specific situation, and we'll help you figure out what we call a financial independence roadmap, a map that lays out in writing how to take this journey and minimize risks, from market risk to what we're talking about today, tax risk, and everything in between. So we'll help you determine how to reduce the risks of having a tragedy along that route, and how to enjoy and live out your retirement dreams. And of course, we're doing this all based on biblical financial principles. So give us a call, 720-372-0400. I'm Colin Richards, and you can also check us out on the web at lordandrichards.com. So we've been talking about the strategies that are available to you to disarm your tax time bomb. The first one being, the Trump tax plan may well reduce rates on a lot of Americans. We might see, if that goes through, the elimination of estate taxes, which would help out some people at the highest levels. But we have a lot of folks who are getting taxed on their current investments. Those investments that aren't in IRAs or 401ks are paying taxes as we go. And that's okay. As you heard a moment ago, I'm a fan of getting that out of the way now while taxes are on sale. They really are cheap, historically speaking. But if you're in the higher income brackets and those extra dollars coming off your investments are pushing you into the highest tiers and maybe even making you subject to the alternative minimum tax, which is a real knife in the back, then you might want to consider doing more deferral, putting more money away in IRAs, 401ks, and other tax-deferred vehicles such as annuities. But what if you are, down in the lower brackets, you're not at the top tier, and you got a little space to get some of those taxes out of the way now? We call that paying taxes on the seed. Well, then we have 3 wonderful tools that are available to everybody, okay, or at least everybody that can qualify. First of all, we have Roth IRAs. If you're earning income, you can contribute to a Roth. If you're a spouse staying at home and you're not earning income, but your husband or wife is earning income, then you can contribute as a spouse, even though you don't have any earned income. And what you put in those Roths, although it's very limited, just a few $1,000s a year, really. $5,500 now and $6,500 max that you can put in after you get into your 50s. But regardless, that's money that you can sock away that'll never get taxed again. There are rules for that. We won't go into that here. But a Roth IRA, that's one step. Very limited, though. You can't put a whole lot of money there. Municipal bonds, that's another step. And municipal bonds are just investing in your local entities like schools and airport projects and other things to get both state and federal tax exemption. That's why they call them double tax free. They have to meet certain criteria, but once you're in, then you don't pay taxes on that growth. Okay, but of course you have to use money you've already gotten taxed. So municipal bonds. So number 1, Roth IRAs, no future taxes if done properly. Municipal bonds, no future taxes if done properly. What's the hang up with municipal bonds? Well, man, they don't pay much. A lot of them don't pay a whole lot these days. Used to be more lucrative, but just not the best performing asset. What's the hang up with Roths? Well, we just can't put a lot in there, right? We can put it in any kind of investment for the most part, but you can't put a lot in there. So what's the third solution? Well, there are specific kinds of life insurance policies, whether you need life insurance for income replacement or mortgage replacement or not. These life insurance policies will allow you to accumulate money tax-free, principal protected, that means no market downside, and market linked, so they grow as the market goes up. You get a portion of the upside, but none of the down. That sounds too good to be true. Well, it's not, because there are limitations there as well. You have to get underwritten. You have to qualify. These are called indexed universal life policies, but they're fixed. They don't allow you to lose money in them. And we're a big advocate of retirement planning that has downside protection. So if you're not in the highest brackets, you might want to consider getting those taxes out of the way now so that in the future, you don't have taxes during your financial independence years. Wouldn't that be cool? And then finally, if you're building up money in IRAs and 401ks, and that money doesn't get spent down during your lifetime, do you know that your heirs are going to get creamed by taxes on that? Let us help you figure out a way to move that money from being forever taxed to never again taxed. We can help you rescue your IRA from the government. Some people call it disinheriting Uncle Sam. Well, we don't have time to go into that, but give us a call. This is Colin Richards. I'm Denver's Biblical Investment Advisor. We've talked today about how to disarm your tax time bomb. If you want to talk about that subject or just your financial situation in general and how to be financially independent, give us a call, 720-372-0400. Again, that's 720-372-0400, or check us out at lordandrichards.com.